Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about what did they know, meaning what did the Atlanteans know? This is a question that has been asked for thousands of years and one that has never really had an answer to it. The reason being is because we don't know much about the Atlanteans. We know very little about them. There are very few artifacts. There is no physical evidence left behind because apparently this place was totally destroyed in a day and in a moment. But there are certain things, certain connections that people make between the story of Atlantis as told by Plato and other cultures around the world, and some of these connections can shed some light on who the Atlanteans may have been and what they might have known. And I think it will be very interesting to explore this. So let's get started with today's video. I wanted to start off with a quote from someone named D.H. Lawrence, who said, "It is impossible for the human mind to divorce itself from the conceptions of space and time. To conceive of the eternal in terms of anything else than eternity is unthinkable. And so we conceive of the infinite in terms of time as unlimited time. For us to think of the eternal other than as timeless is quite beyond our comprehension. Our only conception of rest is sleep, of eternity, death." Now, why did I choose this quote? Why is it the first quote that came to my mind when thinking of this topic? Well, firstly, I think this quote connects well to the idea of what did they know. In this quote, Lawrence speaks about how we can't even comprehend what eternity is like. We always connect it to something that we understand. We connect it to time, we connect it to space, we connect it to death, which is something that we experience, or at least we will experience someday. Therefore, he says that we are unable to understand what eternity is. Now, what does this have to do with the Atlanteans? Well, the reason I chose this quote is because it also reminds me of Plato's description of the Atlanteans. In Plato's description, the Atlanteans were actually described as a race of people who had ascended to higher levels of consciousness. He describes them as people who had achieved enlightenment, if you will. And throughout history, people have interpreted this in different ways. Some say that Plato meant that they had become enlightened and then they fell and they became wicked, which is why they were destroyed. Others say that Plato was referring to a more literal ascension, that they had somehow physically ascended into the sky, into the heavens. But either way, the common theme here is that they knew something that we do not know, that they had some kind of spiritual wisdom, and that is what I want to explore further. Now, I have to admit that I am personally skeptical when it comes to the existence of Atlantis. It is possible that such a place existed, but the problem is that we can't prove it, which means that we can't confirm it. However, I'm not so skeptical when it comes to the spiritual wisdom of Atlantis, because we all have access to spirituality. We all have access to our own inner wisdom, and through practices like meditation, prayer, and self-reflection, we can learn more about ourselves and about the world around us. We don't need to believe in the existence of Atlantis to learn from the alleged wisdom of the Atlanteans. And that is exactly what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to share with you some things that I believe the Atlanteans knew. These are not my own thoughts. Instead, they come from ancient texts, from legends, from myths, and from people who have studied these topics in depth. And before I share these things with you, I would like you to keep an open mind. Be willing to consider new possibilities and be open to learning something new. Don't approach this video with any preconceived notions or beliefs. Just relax and enjoy the journey. So let's begin. The first thing that I think the Atlanteans knew was the importance of living in harmony with nature. Nature is a powerful force that can be both beneficial and destructive. When we live in harmony with nature, we are able to harness its power for good. But when we go against nature, we are sure to face the consequences. The Atlanteans knew that everything in the universe is interconnected and that we are all part of a greater whole. They understood that we are not separate from nature, but rather we are a part of it. They knew that we must respect and care for the environment, otherwise we will face the wrath of nature. This is why they built their cities in harmony with nature, using natural materials and respecting the balance of the ecosystem. They knew that they were not masters of nature, but rather they were a part of it, and they must live in harmony with it. Another thing that the Atlanteans knew was the importance of balance. Balance is essential to the well-being of individuals, societies, and the universe as a whole. When we are balanced, we are in harmony with ourselves and with the world around us. But when we are unbalanced, we are more likely to experience chaos and destruction. The Atlanteans knew that balance is essential to the well-being of all living things, and they made every effort to maintain balance in their lives. They understood that it is through balance that we achieve harmony, and that it is through harmony that we are able to live in peace. Furthermore, the Atlanteans knew the importance of knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is power, and wisdom is the ability to use that power wisely. The Atlanteans were said to be highly intelligent and knowledgeable people who valued wisdom above all else. They knew that true power comes not from physical strength or material possessions, but from knowledge and wisdom. They understood that it is through knowledge and wisdom that we are able to solve problems and improve our lives. And that is why they created schools and libraries where people could go to learn and grow. Moreover, the Atlanteans knew the importance of love and compassion. Love and compassion are powerful forces that can bring people together and create harmony. The Atlanteans understood that we are all connected and that we must treat each other with love and compassion. They knew that it is through love and compassion that we are able to build strong relationships and create a better world. And that is why they practiced forgiveness and kindness towards others. In addition to these things, the Atlanteans also knew the importance of living in accordance with universal laws. They believed that there are certain laws that govern the universe, and that we must follow these laws in order to live in harmony with the cosmos. They understood that just as there are laws that govern the physical world, there are also laws that govern the spiritual world. And that is why they lived their lives according to these universal laws. Finally, the Atlanteans knew the importance of seeking wisdom and enlightenment. They believed that it is through the pursuit of wisdom and enlightenment that we are able to reach our full potential. They understood that we are all capable of achieving great things, and that it is through our wisdom and enlightenment that we are able to do so. And that is why they sought out teachers and mentors who could help them on their journey towards wisdom and enlightenment. So these are some of the things that I believe the Atlanteans knew. I believe that they were wise and enlightened people who lived in harmony with themselves, with each other, and with the world around them. I believe that they understood the importance of balance, knowledge, love, compassion, universal laws, and the pursuit of wisdom and enlightenment. Whether or not Atlantis existed physically doesn't really matter. What matters is the wisdom that the Atlanteans are said to have possessed. And it is this wisdom that I believe can help us to create a better world today. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it has given you something to think about. If you have any thoughts or ideas, please feel free to share them in the comments below. I would love to hear what you have to say. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.